Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rise of Salai, a ELH campaign of Avatar Legends using the rules by Magpie Entertainment. Or is it Magpie Productions? It's Magpie all around. My name is ELH, the Game Master, and I am joined by three lovely individuals who will meet right away so we can get into play as soon as possible. So yeah, if each of you could just rattle off your name, who you're playing, and anything you want to shout out if possible, starting with Matthew.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew. I have no socials to plug, I have no products to sell, I'm a very, very dull boy. But I do play Avatar Salai in this particular game, who is on her journey to master the four elements. She already can bend fire and earth, but today particularly we're going to be seeing her try, emphasis on try, to learn how to airbend.
Very nice. Techno.
Everyone, I'm Techno. You can find me on a few of the socials, most notably Blue Sky and Tumblr. Usually I'm under Techno Nerd. I'm playing Lyn Zhou, who is a firebender. Struggling a little bit with some upbringing issues, but hopefully making some inroads on that.
Love it. And last but not least, Bean.
Hello, I'm Bean Goblin, and in this month I'm just barely coasting along. So if you do find me, congratulations.
What are you playing?
Oh, yes, I'm playing Tori-Michi, who may or may not be teaching airbending today. I don't know. Perhaps on the cards.
Tempting it at any rate, huh?
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. All right. Now, normally I would start with the air, water, fire, the whole 9 yards, but I think I'm just going to start with the recap for today's session. So where we last left off with this adventuring group is they had confronted a group in advanced camp of Warlord Izon's bandits, and a bit of information came out about that, where not only was Warlord Izon keeping family members to keep captured villagers in check, kind of press ganging them into service underneath of him, but apparently the pink sick rocks, or the pink death rocks, I forget which one we went with, where the pink death rocks, the only way to cure the toxin or the venom or the poison, whatever the appropriate word is, the only way is to use spiritual oasis water or water that's been touched by a spirit. So my notes say that you had basically told the advanced camp and those within it to go to Lu Ven village, the nearest spiritual oasis, to get more water to cure those affected by the pink death rocks, while the group was headed toward Tyn City, or where Warlord Izon was based out of. And where we're going to start today's session is you all are currently on the way to Tyn City. It's about a 3 to 5 day journey. You're only about a half a day's into it at this point. And to sort of set the scene around you is you have sort of these rolling hills of black and brown. There's not a whole lot that grows out here, and what does grow is very short grass or very short flowers or sort of these rocky buds. The scent is, you're still getting that sea breeze coming off the coast, so there's a little bit of salt in the air. But what you're also smelling is kind of fresh earth after like a recent rain. So a lot of fresh earth, a lot of sea air. And as far as you're able to tell, these sort of rolling hills just kind of stretch on almost endlessly, or at least it feels that way after about a half days of walking. But that's where I'm going to put you all in, and I will interject as needed.
So, Elatia, with us walking, have we left the cart and the eelhound behind, or are they just...
No, they're still with you, unless you wanted to leave them behind.
Okay, sorry. I heard walking, so I thought we were left them behind for some reason. So anyway, at the moment, Tori-Michi is doing propelling her cart as normal, using airbending and doing and the like, but is doing a very more slow manner, as she's doing more of like a Tai Chi movement to like push the air, while practicing martial arts with the Tai Chi while pushing the air, and getting in practice time. So she's not even focusing on anything besides the road and her movements at the moment.
And I think that Salai is mounted atop Akemi, her eelhound, but they're moving at a rather slow pace, and occasionally something breaks through this almost like taciturn iron focus of Salai, who is staring down at Tori-Michi, watching all those intricate movements of her slow Tai Chi, if you will. Occasionally she glances back as if she sort of starts and realizes something, looking back at the faint pinkish remnants of the burn scar that is on the hind leg of Akemi, where she was injured during the last battle.
And Lyn is going to be sat sort of cross-legged on the back of the cart, just sort of out of the way of everyone, really. Seemingly quite reluctant to have put herself on the back of the eel hound. She is going to have a sort of a piece of parchment in her hand and a small stick of some
Charcoal?
thank you, that's the word. Some charcoal that she's picked up from the side of the road. She'd be doing her best to sort of do some sort of impressionist looking landscape view of what she sees around her. So it's sort of similar to, but not exactly accurate to. It's just a rendition of. And she's mostly sort of focused in on that.
I think that in all likelihood, that kind of awkward silence is something that defines the three characters. And I don't want to speak for anyone, but I think we're all kind of lost in our own ruminations on what has happened. Certainly, Salai is, as she keeps on going back to that moment where, because of her brashness, because of her failure, her best friend, her only friend from childhood, Akemi, was injured. And there's this growing sense, I suppose, of that tension as you see that she's stewing within herself like a volcano that's readying to erupt. It's a seemingly placid surface of rock and stone, but you can almost feel the air heating up around her.
So, without even looking at you, Tori-Michi's still mainly focusing on their hands and just occasionally looking at, like how you would sail a ship, you look forward every so often just in case you're about to hit something. But without even breaking that sort of concentration, she'll go, if you linger in the past, you'll stay there.
That seems to be definitional, she calls out, without any real emotion.
Then, if it's a definite thing, why do you stay there?
Oh, I'm just saying that if you linger anywhere, you are by definition staying there.
Yes. So then you need to move forward.
She looks down at the ground that's passing relatively quickly, considering that this is still an eelhound under her. We are moving forward.
I can feel the tension from you building up from here. It's literally gotten a few degrees hotter just by staying near you.
That might also be me, says Lyn, as she sets fire to the parchment in frustration. That just wasn't coming out right. I can't get the. She takes out another takes out another roll of parchment and starts sketching on that.
Both of you need something to relieve tension.
That's what I'm trying to do.
At least one of you is trying.
I've always found that meditation helps.
Then maybe we need to meditate for a bit.
That's what I've been doing.
Have you? Because meditation requires your mind to be blank, and I don't think it is.
And her lips sort of don't quite quirk, but there's this wavering of her mouth, not in a smile, but it's almost like she's uncertain as to what expression she should make. I've been meditating on failure, its implications, and what leads to it.
Have you thought of how to improve yourself so that you don't fail?
I'm coming up empty.
Okay. Well, then we need to do something to to completely different then.
Did you have something in mind?
I stop my car and then I just look blankly at one of the trees.
Super important, Bean. Was that a very quick stop or a very gentle stop?
Yes, gentle stop.
Okay. In that case,
Like I don't turn on the brakes. I stop powering my my craft, and it just rolls to a stop. And I'm just blankly looking at leaves rustling in the wind.
great. Okay, my sketching continues unabated then.
And Salai just sort of like pulls up on the reins ever so slightly, and Akemi slows to a stop next to the cart.
That way.
Starts looking.
I point off the road, down the meadow in the fields. Looks like to be some sort of country path.
And she just sort of stares down that path, blinking.
I then gather my travel supplies, push my cart just off the road, click the locks on, and then I just start walking down that road.
With a quick pat to Akemi's neck, Salai will just sort of like acrobatically slide off of the saddle and make a slightly circuitous route towards the pathway, intending to follow, but she's going to stop by Lyn for just a moment. Are you coming with us?
Do you want me to? It like. Do you want me to?
Come on,
Okay.
adventurer, wait. We're not going to get there unless we carry on going. Come on, everyone, let's go.
But we were going. We seem to have stopped in order.
I briskly start whistling a tune, and a lot more upbeat and a lot more jovial
Okay,
than I've
but
been since the time I just walked down the path.
but she realizes, right? We were on our way to adventure, and she's now taking us on a detour to meditate.
I think the point was there's unknown adventure and there's known adventure, and she doesn't want known adventure.
Right. Okay. I am struggling to keep up with her.
It's a wind thing, I think, spontaneity and unpredictability.
Well, that was supposed to be us, but sure. Okay. I guess, fine. Okay. And she throws down her charcoal and her parchment. I'll come with. Let's go and find some unknown adventure.
I think it's just that we shift with the wind shifts itself.
I mean, there's all kinds of implications about wildfire there, but I'm not going to make them. Sure. Okay. And she picks up her spear and she sort of thumps down from the cart, quite ungracefully compared to how she normally moves. And she looks expectantly at Salai.
She starts walking off, and then with her back turned towards Lyn, she just kind of like calls back, "Are you all right?"
And then starts following, sort of falls into step just slightly behind her. No, I can't get landscapes right. I don't know if it's the charcoal, maybe. Like, it's a new medium. I'm trying different things, and I don't know. It just makes my hands black, and then I just smudge the parchment, and I don't. It's annoying. It's frustrating.
And you can see that, like, from the camera angle, looking at Salai's face as she looks away from Lyn, her eyes are like darting back and forth as if she's kind of terrified and uncertain. And she just kind of calls back without looking back. I've always been impressed by other people's artistic talents. I have none of my own.
Well, that would appear to make two of us then, because I'm in exactly the same boat.
I disagree. I thought that your art, what of it I've seen, was interesting.
Interesting is the term I've heard used a lot, yes. But thank you. I appreciate the compliment. There is a very clear questioning tone in that.
I think that you have a better appreciation for people than landscapes, and that's fine. Different artists have different skills, just as different benders have different abilities. It's about finding what you're good at.
Yeah. And she sounds very sort of wistful and downcast at that. But I'm really okay. Where did Tori-Michi go?
I'm like halfway down this path towards what looks like the forest and rolling hills and that sort of thing, nestled between farmlands.
She's really
Or,
spry for someone
overgrown,
so small.
overgrown farmlands, because these are places haven't been tended to for a while.
At this time, Salai does actually turn back and arches a brow. Well, we are dallying.
Very true. Do you think we could dally more? Because it is fun to wind her up.
It is, actually. She makes it so easy.
And I think Lyn cracks her own small smile at the fact that Salai broke a little bit there and chuckled. Well, I mean, we could just stop and see what she does.
That would be cruel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Salai is just going to sort of like fall into a lotus position on the side of the road or on the side of the path and sort of like put her fists together in that traditional sort of meditative posture of the Fire Nation.
And I think Lyn is just going to sort of just move off to the side of the little path they're following and just start looking at whatever happens to be at the side of the road. In this case, she bends down basically and she's looking at one of those small buds that was mentioned, just sort of growing out of the earth. Just sort of leaning on her spear and just sort of staring at it.
So at a certain point, Tori-Michi will look up at the sky, look at the field, turn around and notice that you have literally gone no more than 5 feet from your starting position, and will grab one of those classic sort of like long grass reed things, put it in her mouth, and then just jump into a tree and like sort of like get myself comfy and sit in the tree with the thing nestled between it and just look it side to side.
So after a few minutes, Salai cracks an eye open and looks down towards that sort of depression where Tori-Michi is sitting in a tree, and then leans over towards Lyn and whispers, "I think she's trying to wait us out now."
Well, as long as she's not playing one of those instruments of hers, I'm fine.
I hope she didn't hear that. That's going to carry on the wind, and she might pick that up, because then she's going to start singing or playing or something.
I switch over to the flute, and I'm going to make an important roll. Am I actually good at the flute? Have they just been tormenting me?
You know what? This is a very good question. I guess this is technically a rely on your skills and training, so roll with focus.
All right. Go. Dice roll.
Okay, you apparently are really good at it.
I just start playing a pleasant, harmonious melody, which you would usually find that's played in camps and other such things when traveling along the road after walking for a long distance.
Oh, burn it. I was really hoping she'd be bad at it, but I don't like foreign music, but this is actually kind of nice. Damn it.
It almost harmonizes with the bird song.
There's birdsong? Oh, right. That's what that is. Okay. As music, as music to sit to goes, this isn't too bad. I'm being cruel. Okay, fine. Let's go do her whatever it is that she wants to do.
I appreciated the break, though. It was... I think that was valuable in itself.
Then that is how we will justify it. And she stands herself up, dusts herself off a little bit, even though her her traveling robes are reasonably immaculate. And she again just sort of turns, spear in hand, and just sort of looks at Salai.
And Salai will rise as well. She doesn't bother dusting herself off, so there are a few sort of stains from the earth and the dirt on the lower parts of her robe, but she just continues on down the path.
So when they're about 3/4 of the way there, I jump down, pick up a hefty stick, big beaming smile at them, and I dart into forest faster than they can run, hitting trees along the way and giggling to myself. And I'm going to use one of my techniques, which is a surprising entrance. When you try to disappear or reappear, I can use focus instead of creativity. I basically plan to disappear into the forest, but leaving them a trail to find me.
Interesting. Let me see. Yeah, go ahead and roll a focus.
This is why I roll a fail. Hit.
Okay. Well,
In
I
fact,
mean, you
that's
still
probably-
got a hit. So on a trick, you get to pick one here. They can either, all of them will stumble, and you get to take a +1 forward against Salai and Lyn. They could act foolishly, and that might apply here, or they're going to really overcommit to your bit.
I like the last one.
Okay. So what overcommitting to the bit looks like, I leave to you all discretion, but yeah, you are going to overcommit to this.
Basically, I just seem to be luring them deeper into the forest.
Salai cocks her head. Did she just abandon us?
If she was abandoning us, I think she'd be less annoying about it.
Do you know her at all?
Fair. And Lyn nods. But I think this is an invitation to follow her.
She could have just said that.
I don't think that... Do you know her at all?
That's fair. Very well.
So we're following her.
Did you have another plan?
No. Short of burning down the forest, but I feel like that's...
No, not overcommit like that. Don't overcommit like that. Stop.
It might be more efficient. And
Yeah.
this does tie into the lesson that she's trying to teach us about the interplay between fire and wind, I assume, that the wind carries the fire forward.
And trees do always stay still. They are, in fact, rooted in the present.
Yes.
So...
Stuck. Yes, everything ties together then. Like
So
the
if
intricate
we-
system of roots.
And if we set fire to it, it encourages new growth. Which is, helping to move things forward. Yes, no, I think I see what she was saying. Maybe the trees that she's hitting are the ones that she wants us to set fire to.
I mean, that's as good as an explanation as any.
I can't interfere in the forest.
Well, if it
Perhaps you should
changes
start
your,
with the... Go ahead.
If it changes your plan of random arson as you start to get to the parapet, is parapet the word I want? Perimeter is the word I want. The perimeter of this thicket. What you realize is that, again, from the outside, it just kind of looks like dead trees or like kind of just very dark woods with barely any greenery on it. But if you look further into the forest, it actually becomes a vibrant display of colors, where after maybe about 5 or 10 steps, the trees start to be not just greens, but blues and purples, and maybe even a little bit of oranges and reds. There's wildlife here. There are squirrel owls flying between the trees, collecting nuts and little things. There are little lemur turtles that are kind of scuttling around the ground, just kind of chewing on the little bits of undergrowth. And in general, if you didn't know any better, you might have entered somewhere within the Earth Kingdom, or maybe even around some of the polar regions, the amount of life and color that's on display here. Because again, the Fire Nation, or the Fire Islands in general, very dour place, at least in this period of time. So seeing this amount of color is like seeing the Earth claiming a bit of life within this otherwise kind of dour land, if that makes any sense.
And Salai just seems almost slightly enraptured with this explosion of color and sort of verdant life. She's going to stare at it for a moment and then turn to Lyn. Have you ever seen anything like this in the Fire Nation?
And I think likewise, Lyn is just sort of enraptured by what she's looking at. It's like, no. No. It's... I think the word is beautiful, but it's not. It's not really a word that I've attributed to like this sort of. I've never seen this. No.
While they're like awestruck and stuff, from the deepest part of the forest, this goes, "You guys are never gonna get there if you get dawdle like you are. You normally have so much get up and go." As I will knock a few more trees, going into the distance into the forest even more.
I guess slowly.
She can't want us to burn this, though, right?
No. At least this explains where the bird song was coming from.
True. Yeah.
Should have realized that was strange. This entire place is strange. These colors aren't natural. GM, could I make perhaps an observation roll to see if I think this is actually natural, or is there some sort of like spiritual influence here that's allowing this to exist?
I was waiting for you to figure it out, yeah. If you could go ahead and give me an assess the situation, rolling with creativity, I'll even give you a +1 on this.
Bonus of +1.
Full hit, so you get to ask me 2 questions.
Nice.
And it doesn't have to be from the list. It can just be any 2 questions you want.
I'm going to say basically both who or what is the greatest danger, and is there any danger that I can discern here? Basically like that, is there danger here?
So to answer both those questions in one shot, or at least an attempt to, this isn't a spiritual oasis, but this is a place touched by the spirits, where probably at some point a cultivation spirit or some form of tree spirit might have come through here, whether briefly or otherwise, and sort of set the seed for this, wondrous display of color. But you're not sure if they're still here. I mean, it would explain why the trees seem to be getting thicker and thicker and the colors seem to be growing more vibrant. But if that's the case, then there's an actual spirit here that you might have to contend with at some point. But it's not like a hostile thing where you're like, oh, I gotta watch out for the spirit. It's just that there might be a spirit here you have to be aware of, if that makes sense.
This is not a natural place. It's the product of divergence between the spiritual world and ours, or the actions of a spirit that's crossed over our world.
Oh, okay. I guess that's kind of a bit disappointing, but okay, that's good to know.
Why is it disappointing?
I maybe because I just sort of hoped this was just here, not like because of something. I kind of just hoped it was here.
I don't think anything is just here. Everything is here for, well, at least it has a cause, if not a purpose. And those could be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I just hope there were more places like this in the Fire Nation or Firelands that I just didn't know about, rather than because a spirit did it. Does that make sense? Maybe that doesn't make sense.
If the spirit continues on, there could be more places like this.
Well, I mean, I hope so, then, in that case.
We should probably catch up with Tori because I wouldn't want her to anger the spirit.
Yeah, I was just thinking. You know what would definitely stop all of this from happening more is if Tori-Michi met the spirit. Yeah.
I mean, she can be quite aggravating, so...
No.
And I think Salai is actually just going to bolt into the forest as quickly as she can.
So every so often you'll hear like a little chime noise as you will start to see ribbons tied from tree branches with wind chimes on them, as you know, the wind is nicely blowing them together, and it seems to be leading you to whatever direction that Tori-Michi seems to be leading you. So even though she is not in visible view, you can start to see things like ribbons and bells just tied to random places, marks on trees with a little bit of paint, that sort of thing. Nothing overt or like in any way damaging to the forest, but just enough to give you a direction.
Following along behind Salai, noticing all of this as she goes, I feel like Lyn has goes, she definitely... Where did she get these? She wasn't carrying them. Was she?
I find it best not to ask questions like that of her.
I feel like we have to, though. Like...
I did pick up a backpack before I left.
Yeah, just full of wind chimes and ribbons and
yeah, precisely. My cart's filled with many magical items, which are definitely magical and not there for advertisement.
Yeah, we might have to chat about this at some point. Can I try something? Forgive me, I don't know the rules well enough to know if I can try this. I feel like it would be some kind of relying on my skills and training kind of role.
What is it you're trying to do?
I want to try and work out where we're being led and see if I can break off from Salai and head her off. Head Tori-Michi off.
Would that be asking me a question rather than ELH?
Kinda, yeah. I'm debating if we even want to do a roll for this or if we want to. You know what? Since this is Bean's game at the moment, I'm going to let Bean make the call. Do you want them to make a roll or do you just want to answer?
I feel like, make a roll.
Okay.
And it would be something like, because like, you know how to hunt and stuff, I presume. Maybe not as a hunter, but like you've done like scouting as a military officer sort of thing.
Yeah, Lyn would definitely have like reconnaissance and scouting experience under her belt, either for just having been taught it or having been expected to teach other people as well. So that's the training that I want her to be relying on, to like realize what the terrain is doing, where all, sort of sense a general direction or theme in the directions that Tori-Michi is going, and go okay, that means that if they go that way, I can go this way, and we can sort of meet in the middle and head them off.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and roll with focus.
Let's see if I get this right.
Okay. So you do have an option here. Salai, you could assist, bumping them up to a 7. You would have to mark a fatigue to do it, but you could do so.
I think because she's almost like breaking off from me as I'm heading down the path that's been prescribed by the wind chimes and the paint, I probably wouldn't be able to assist.
Yeah, so I feel like, Lyn just sort of splits off unexpectedly into the trees in a different direction, and then apparently gets lost.
I mean, I have a suggestion as to what might happen to you. You might actually encounter the spirit. No. That's the failure, right? That you run smack dab into it, but I don't know what might
succeed with a complication in this game?
So that's the thing, is that it's one of those things where there's yes and or yes but there's not a no but, really. There's a no and. Or am I saying that right? I think it's the other way around. There's not a no and, it's a no but. So it's kind of one of those things where you don't get any additional knowledge about what Tori-Michi's doing, but there is going to be a little scene for you in a moment, is what I'll say.
Okay.
As she is following that path, Salai is just going to put her fingers to her mouth for a moment and whistle for Akemi to sort of travel down the path and basically just sit down in the forest and enjoy the atmosphere, as opposed to just laying out on the road.
When you make a whistle, you'll hear a whistle noise as well. Not completely mimicking the whistle you make, but like sort of Marco Polo sort of thing.
All right, and then occasionally, as she's running down that path, she's going to send out reciprocal sounds back and forth.
Which, can I mark a fatigue and help Techno?
You certainly
Because
can.
I'm giving Techno, more information on my location.
Yeah, I'll let that happen.
So, you get one question, I believe, Techno, to me about what I'm doing.
Well, it's a rely on your skills and training, so it's they do it. They understand what you're doing, but they do it imperfectly.
So, I seem to be following something in nature. You're not exactly sure what, whether it's, the trees themselves or something, but I don't have a set destination in mind, which is what's probably confusing you at first. I haven't picked a waypoint and going towards it. I'm just flowing in and out of the trees, going in random directions. You perhaps recognize it when you're hunting somebody who is just trying to break a lead rather than, trying to get to a certain hideout or something like that.
Yeah.
But since what I'm doing
so
is...
maybe then, yes, you're acting as chaotically as always, but you're following some natural thing, which I then notice and go, they're doing that, and I see something similar and jet off in my own direction doing that. So it seems to me like I should be following the same path, or a path you would take, but clearly it goes somewhere else.
Now, the unintended side effect, because you did roll a 7 there with that little assistance, is that you are going to disturb some of the wildlife in your chase. And if you're okay with that, that's where the buck stops. But if you don't want to disturb the wildlife, you will have to mark a fatigue.
What do we mean by disturb, and what do we mean by wildlife?
So what I would mean is if you were to walk into a forest and shout really loud or make a really loud noise or kick down a tree, burn a tree, whatever, obviously that's going to send all sorts of animals and insects and everything scuttling for cover. Whether or not it involves the spirit, I leave to your imagination.
Okay, I'm kind of okay with that, I think. My concern was by disturb, it would mean walk into, a platypus bear's den or something.
I don't know. Do you want to walk into a platypus bear's den? Because we can make that happen. We can totally make that happen.
A tiger deer. They're very jumpy and very bitey.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger deer.
Tiger deer.
It'd be both the stealthiest animal and just the stupidest ever.
It's hunting something and then it gets spooked, so it just jumps. And
9 times out of 10, it's hunting itself.
You know what?
Like
we made the joke.
Like
it's
Let's
official.
do it.
Yes,
Yep.
you attract the attention of a tiger deer. Congrats. But the best part is that you see it and it sees you and it just goes rigid and just stares at you.
And Lyn likewise just stops and is just staring at this animal, sort of spear just sort of in her hand, sort of held across her, panting just slightly out of breath, but not massively so. And I think the two are just going to sort of stare at each other for a moment. Lyn's kind of unsure how to resolve the situation because, as she knows with tiger deer, it can go one of two ways. It either attacks you or it runs off in just abject terror, flicking its tail as it goes.
The ultimate fight and flight response animal. A perfect apex predator. It either kills or runs away.
We didn't plan any of this, by the way. I want to make that very clear. We did not plan any of this. So this is wonderful. I love it. I'm debating what I should do here. I think I'm going to do a GM move here. And what I mean by that is I'm just going to tell you something happens. And what's going to happen is the tiger deer is going to start to lower its head so that the fierce antlers are now pointed more towards you. And it looks like it is going to attempt to charge and potentially pounce on you.
It's just a slight deflating while that
Tumbling
starts
down
to
the
happen.
forest, please.
Yeah. I think Lyn is just going to try and position herself out of the line of charge, like behind a tree or something, but also sort of kick herself up into the low branches so that she's just able to stay out of its reach.
Okay.
I'd like to try that anyway.
Yeah. I think this is another rely on your skills and training here.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully it will go better than last time.
Okay, you get a 9.
That's better than last time.
So again, you're going to do it. You're going to get into lower branches of a tree, but there will be again some consequences because it's a 9. What I would say is that these consequences are the tiger deer will sort of circle your tree or start doing that thing where it starts to circle the tree. Or if you want to mark a fatigue, it will continue past and leave you alone.
I'm happy with the circling the tree.
Okay.
Give me something to worry about while the other two go off and do their own thing.
Have an adventure.
We'll return to
having my
Lyn
own
Zhou in a
adventure.
moment then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll return to Lyn Zhou. Let's go back to Salai and Tori-Michi for a little bit then. So, Tori-Michi, where are you leading Salai, and what is it that you are following in nature? Because I'm curious.
So I'm following the wind. Every single thing I'm doing is just following the wind, and I will end up in those little islands in the middle of a river. I'm just going to end up with one of those, and I've just put up the stick and I started tying a couple of ribbons to it, while now Salai has actually caught up to where I am, and I'm just halfway through this river.
And Salai, as she sort of comes skidding to a stop on seeing Tori-Michi there, is going to survey the surroundings of that small island, check the water very briefly to see if there's anything in there, and then look up. Just so you know, this is not a natural place. There is a spiritual force at work here.
Interesting.
Can I help you with something here?
I mean, you can do if you want to jump over like I did.
And Salai then will again take a look at the water, frown slightly, and then make a leap over to the rock if she believes she can make it.
Turn around and say, "Not with fire, though." Like I said, jump over like I did.
And she sort of looks down at her hands where she was about to propel herself slightly with that gout of flame. That seems like an excessive test. I haven't...
You have the wind behind your back. Can you not feel it?
And as if detecting it for the very first moment, she almost has this little prickle along the back of her neck as the slight sheen of sweat that she's built up from the run. She notices that cold feeling of the breeze, that cooling breeze against the sweat on her neck.
Jump. Doesn't matter how high. Just jump.
Then again, looking at the water, how distant is it there, Lyn? How much distance is there to cover?
It's about 15 foot to where I am.
Oh, geez Louise. Okay. She's again going to look at the water.
Airbender jump required sort of thing. And she's just looking at you go, jump.
She's going to sort of shuck the outer portion of her robe and the pants there. So she's sort of in a tighter undergarment. Look down. Very well. Try to focus herself. And then she'll try to make the jump. Concentrating on, I don't know, buoying herself up with the wind, or moving the wind with her, or following the flow of the wind. And all those thoughts are turning through her mind at once in this confused jumble, so she's not focusing on any one of them. So I imagine that's just going to be a spectacular failure immediately.
And unless ELH is gonna have a role here, I just imagine you just jump like however far you can naturally jump, and you jump into like at most a foot deep worth of water.
I don't think that you're a very good teacher.
But you tried, which is the first step.
I think that some kind of lesson is the first step. That's traditionally how it works.
It is. You felt the wind for the first time. I saw it in your face. This entire time, you've been focused on your internal energy and not the energy around you. Where's Lyn? I left markers so that you could easily follow me this entire way.
I assume that she's trying to capture the natural scenery. Maybe something attracted her attention. She was quite insistent about. She sort of like makes a motion with.
Oh, she's doing art. Okay, then that makes sense.
Probably, yes.
So, may I ask you a question? Are you ever going to try and air jump again?
Yes, it would be necessary as part of my attempt at mastering.
No. Not the master airbender. Are you ever going to do it again? You failed.
I haven't done it once.
Precisely. You've tried once. You failed once. How many times is it going to take for you to get it down perfectly, or even to get it down in an amateur fashion?
And her jaw sets ever so slightly. It will as many times as it takes for me to master it.
And that is everything in life. Protecting even the people closest to us. Every so often, we're going to fail. And just because you fail once doesn't mean that you have to linger on that failure. You have to move forward from that point. You are so focused on getting to your destination, you are not letting yourself realize anything. Whether it was your failure, or the fact that you are so wound up tight that you're potentially going to break.
If I could submit, I think this is probably going to be almost a live up to your principle, because you at the moment you're kind of playing upon her concerns about her, almost like circumscription by her role as avatar, as representative of her people, and this is encouraging her to liberate herself from both her past and from that sense of burden. So
I'm doing it to you, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so it's a call someone out. So what this is going to be is Tori-Michi's going to shift their balance away from center. Okay. And then they are, you roll. I always get it confused. You roll with their principle. Okay. So for this, you're pushing them more towards freedom, if I understand correctly.
That is
so correct. You are going to roll with -2 here. So just 2d6 -2.
Okay. Do I click down here? How do I do a manual roll?
You got to do /roll in chat.
Okay. /roll 2d6 -2.
Okay.
5.
5. So, interestingly, since you didn't get a hit, what it's going to mean is that Salai, let me read this correctly. Yeah, so Salai can demand of Tori-Michi that they act in accordance with one of your principles, Tori-Michi. So, Tori-Michi, your principles are excellence and community. So, Matthew and Salai, which of these two, excellence or community, would you be calling upon Tori-Michi to follow here?
I think it's going to be excellence, and the way that she's going to frame that is her jaw, like I said, sort of firms up there, and she looks at her with this, or at Lyn with this, or Tori-Michi with this piercing stare. You've spoken about flowing with the wind, about being moved by circumstance, the things that we feel around us. But in firebending, it's that inner flame, the breath that enters us, that we control, we focus, and then project into the world, that drives us. That's how we make our mark on the world. We don't obey, we impose.
Then, if that is the correct philosophy, I tap the stick next to me, get this ribbon as I take an airbending stance. And unlike normally where my stance is very sort of lax and not showing any intent, I go into a classic, what the monks would do primarily. So it's clearly a martial arts stance. Of course, it's airbending, not firebending. If your ideology is correct, then it should be able to oppose its will on me. Take the ribbon.
She is going to again attempt, almost with the curving but forceful gesticulations of firebending, to force the air to obey her, if you will, as she would control fire. And she is going to almost like be punching at the air, and there are these almost like gusts of warm air that begin like brushing through the grass around her alongside the riverbank. But clearly that has no real effect, and just a sense of frustration is going to overtake her. It's building up, and she's just going to continue with that motion, almost with like the dogged determination of a wolf on a bone, or of so she'll sort of stay like that for a little while.
So upon seeing that, what I'll do is, because I assume you're just like trying to push air, that's what you want to do, sort of wave my hand back in the Tai Chi fashion. But when I get to the halfway point where I would swing back, it rapidly goes forward. I push once, but with my left hand, which was still, push again. The right hand goes past your head, distracting you. The second blast into the water, splashing you.
I'm glad that I took my robe off. That doesn't seem to be conducive to helping me.
Well, like you said, if you could oppose your will unto the willed, I do not have to help you. I then do the motion again and slowly do it, only pushing a small breeze towards you.
In a sort of like a wide, broad sweep, she's going to like lash out, and there's just like not really air, but it's just like rushing through the wind, and there's just a tiny little ripple on the water in front of her.
Good. However, you're not catching it, you're just pushing it.
I think it's appropriate at this moment that, Matthew, I'm going to let you make the call here, because I think if I understand where you're going, there's two ways this can happen. Either Salai does burst and something wondrous and perhaps destructive happens, or we could let this be a roll of the dice, and I'm going to let that be your call here.
I think roll of the dice, absolutely.
All right. So this is one of those things where there's not really a role for it in the base rules, because technically you're not supposed to be playing the avatar. You're not supposed to be, learning all four elements as you were. We're doing something a little special here. So here's what I'm going to say. I think this is probably going to be the closest thing to push your luck, and that means that Salai will be rolling with passion here, which is a -1. So you do have the option that you could live up to your principle and roll a +2 instead, but you would have to mark a fatigue in order to do it.
Yeah, I think that frustration builds within her, and she, ironically enough, she does exactly the opposite of what Tori-Michi was trying to teach her, that she refocuses on the commitment that she has to her duty, the memories that she has of failure in the past that drove her to strive to be the best avatar that she could in order to live up to the expectations of her people, and also to alleviate the suffering of others, because that is her ultimate responsibility, even if she doesn't quite understand the empathy that's needed to to I guess ground that desire, and I will roll with roll.
Okay. Make sure to mark fatigue.
Sorry, I'm having a few internet issues. If I disappear, just carry on. I'll try and get back.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, on a 7. What I'm going to say then is you're going to do it, but it's going to cost you. And I think what that's going to be in terms of cost is... Ooh, how do I want to do this? How mean do I want to be, if mean at all?
Be mean.
Be mean? Okay. I think what's going to happen is you do it, and you do let out, for your very first time, you let out a blast of air. But if you'll permit me to do it, Tori-Michi, it's much like Salai did with firebending and the dragons. It's too powerful of a blast of air. Where Tori-Michi, you were actually pushed off the island and into the water yourself, where the blast of air continues past you and into the forest again, and you hear the sudden cries of animals, bits of alarm, those tiger deer packs that are apparently in the forest make a bunch of noises. You've definitely disturbed what was a serene environment.
And I will basically do a flip in the air and land almost like crouch kneeling with one hand to brace myself on the side of the thing and unruffle my hair. And then I have this big beaming smile, like, somebody's just scored a goal sort of thing. And I step up and go, that's how you do it. Come on, more of that, more. As then I will start just like, I will grab the thing. But remember, this is your goal. And I will start just moving the stick around and just like sort of like actually actively dodging whatever you're trying to swing at me. And I'm like clapping us away, just trying to encourage whatever that was.
And I think almost with a resigned sigh and a sense, not exactly of satisfaction, because there's still this tremendous lingering frustration at what amounts to another failure in many respects. Using that itself as a kind of motivation, Salai is going to try to more accurately emulate the flowing motions of Tori-Michi.
All right. While that's going on, let's go back and check in with Lyn Zhou. So Lyn Zhou, I have good news and I have bad news. Which would you like first?
Let's take the good news.
Well, the good news is that you're still safe in your tree.
Yep, Lyn is just sort of crouched on this reasonably thick branch, I think. Just sort of squatted down with her spear across her lap, and she's just sort of looking down at this pacing creature, and she's just, shoo, just come on, shoo, go.
Well, that's the bad news, is that thanks to Salai's efforts, there's now 2 tiger deer that are circling your tree.
Me and Salai are playing capture the flag, and you're just in mortal peril. We don't know about it because we think you're doing hard.
But as you are now dealing with 2 tiger deer, you do hear some rustling from further along the branch you're sitting on. And when you look, you actually see that it's a small firehawk. It looks to be in its youth, maybe just a few months along, just enough that it knows how to fly. But what you notice is that instead of the blacks and reds that a firehawk would normally have, it's actually a bunch of white and blue instead. And it also has, if I'm remembering Firehawks correctly, they don't have tendrils on their back feathers, but kind of their tail feathers are very elongated, almost like a peacock's in the way it trails behind the creature.
So I think she'll obviously look at that. On the same branch this was, sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Sort of look at that and sort of sigh a bit, just... What, I suppose you're going to have a go at me now for being in your tree?
And it just sort of cocks its head to the side at you.
she just sort of sighs again. She says, all right, and is just going to sort of look around the environment that she finds herself in. And I'd like to assess the situation if I can.
Sure.
My hope is that I can see something that will help me get out of this situation.
Gotcha. Yeah, go ahead, and I believe that is a roll with creativity. Also, Matthew, thank you. I was desperately trying to find a reference to hockey. So I guess they actually do have elongated. So to put a finer point on it, this one has even longer tail plumage than a normal firehawk.
Okay. There it is.
That is a full hit. That's a 13. Wow. I'll let you ask me 3 questions.
Great. Okay, I think it's pretty clear what the biggest danger is and the biggest threat.
Remember, they can be any questions. They don't have to be from the list.
I'm just sort of... They're a good sort of like base for assessing, though, still. Is there anything around me that I can use to distract or drive off the tiger deer? Is there like a beetle hornet nest or something like that up in a tree, that in one of the other branches of another tree that I could get to or throw my spear at or something like that?
Now that you mentioned it, yes, there actually is. There's a beetle hornet nest right over there.
Hooray.
Lyn gets chased by the entirety of the forest. News at 11.
I suppose the next question is going to have to sort of lead on from that. Is it going to be easy for me to get over to it? And like, I say easy, will it be possible for me to get over to it and knock it out of the tree? Or is it the kind of thing I'm going to have to throw my spear?
You're going to have to throw it.
Yeah. Is there anything else I should be... there's obviously 2 of these tiger deer below me. Oh, hey, are they a male and female couple, or are they... Is there... I'm kind of driving at here. Is there... could I be looking on the lookout now for like a fawn, effectively, a fawn cub or whatever we're going to call it, like they're trying to protect, which might explain why they're being so aggressive?
I like that train of thought. I'm just trying to think about how to explain it. So yes, actually what I'm going to say then is, as you sort of assess the situation and not only notice the hornet bee nest and all that, you do notice that in one of the trees, maybe about 5 to 10 meters along, there is kind of, I forget what it's actually called, but I think a grotto is the word I want to use here, where underneath the roots of the tree, there's kind of just this space. And if you look, there is a small tiger deer cub that is inside this little nest area.
And I think Lyn is, she's going to look up, clock the beetle hornet nest. She's going to sort of look around, look down at the 2 circling tiger deer, and then she's going to clock the grotto that you mentioned. Like, oh. And she's going to sort of look at the hawk, the fire hawk, and sort of say, I'm in more trouble than I thought.
Well, you did come into my forest uninvited.
And that's something that is going to be enough to almost like make her jump, like in like surprise out, enough that she almost falls off of the branch and just manages to catch her balance. Hi.
Hello.
Your forest, right? Okay. Very sorry about that. We didn't know.
Oh, it's quite all right. You're actually making less of a scene than your companions.
Is that what that was? Okay, yeah, that... I'm sorry about them. They mean well?
Well, one of them's the Avatar. Of course they mean
well. I was about to say, yeah, one is the Avatar, bridge to the spirit world, and all of that. You're not gonna. You're fine that I'm here.
Well,
sort of
I'm
says
kind of curious
questioningly.
about whether or not you're going to be tiger deer dinner, but
Yeah, good. Okay, but you're not going to, I don't know, use your spirit powers to blast me out of the tree into, their antlers or something.
no, but that does sound like fun.
No, it doesn't. It's bad. It ends badly for
I'm just
everyone
messing with you.
involved. But
It's fun to mess with
okay.
humans. I actually came to clarify something that I heard you talking about earlier, that this place just was, or that it was spiritually influenced.
Oh, you heard that. I didn't mean anything like to offend you. It was just this place is, and she's kind of just completely forgotten her situation for a moment. Just like, this place is, it's beautiful. Like I've been all over, not all over, but I've been to like a large part of the Fire Islands, and I've never seen anywhere that looks like this, that is this. And she uses the word again. Just this beautiful. I'm in awe of it, and I'm rambling, and I'm sorry, and yeah. I'm gonna be quiet now, and I'm sorry.
You're perfectly okay. I'm actually quite proud of my work. This isn't spiritual growth at all. This is me collecting seeds from across your world and bringing them to this location and mixing them together to create the forest you see around you. I guess that means technically it's spiritually influenced because I moved the seeds here and made sure they grew, but this is entirely natural.
Oh. I don't know why, but that makes me feel better about it.
Is it because it means that more places like it can exist?
I mean, I think it's more that just... Yeah, pretty much that. Like, yeah, you may have brought the seeds here, but clearly they're flourishing. I didn't think anything really grew in the Fire Islands anywhere, other than, the sort of dead trees and shrubs that we see just outside of your forest, really. Wow.
Well, maybe you could think of it this way, that with a little bit of effort and a little bit of stepping outside your comfort zone, you can make things like this happen.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't. Not
Why
like
not?
this. I'm not a spirit. I'm not good at things like this, like cultivating growth and.
Anyone can be a gardener.
I mean, I guess, but I mean that's in the same vein as saying, anyone can do anything, but it doesn't make it true.
And actually, what it does is it kind of preens itself where it goes under one of its wings, but instead of pulling out a feather, it pulls out a copy of one of your charcoal drawings, and it shows it to you. I managed to rescue this when you were going to burn it. It's actually quite good.
It's not, though. Look at that. Like, there's that smudge there of my hand across the... No, it... Why do you have that? Please get rid of that. It's so bad. I have others.
I like it.
And you can see that she's sort of... This is ruminating, like, I don't want to offend a spirit here, but like, I don't like that. They like that. That's bad. But like, this is like somebody looking through your sketchbook at, like a family dinner and being like, oh, so you do this, do you? It's like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of those
Sure
awkward
do.
Please don't look at it.
I mean, you can keep that if you want, but
I know you want to burn it. I can tell.
Oh, I so want to burn that. It's not good. I mean, I don't think it's good. I'm so happy that you think it's good, but I don't think it's good.
Well, I see this as like a seed. I think with time and with effort, you could make something even better.
I mean, I guess that's kind of that's kind of reassuring. I guess I was seeing it as just not good, as something I did wrong, as just it's so bad. Are you sure you want that one? I have others that are not better, but not as bad as that one.
No, I think I'll add this one to my seed collection. And it once again preens itself and the paper slips away into its wings, not to be seen again.
And the sort of reaching for it, and it's okay. Yeah, I mean,
Your
okay.
friends are making quite the racket, by the way. And this is where we'll shift back to Salai and Tori-Michi. Where at this point, Salai, you've been able to replicate those big blasts of air, but you haven't been able to refine it quite yet.
So, and I seem to be just jumping side to side, either pushing the air away from myself or just completely dodging it entirely, just clapping, and just seem to be making a game of this rather than seriously fighting you. Encouraging you, but it seems like this is more of a enjoyment rather than a serious training session.
And probably as a slight laugh escapes you at one point, Salai goes rigid. She stops airbending for a moment and then folds her arms and says, I would like to see you try to firebend and allow me to mock you for your efforts. I think that would be very...
I wrestle into my backpack. I get out a lantern. I get out some oil. I set some oil into the thing. I take off the glass thing. I turn on the little light thing, and what I'll do is I will push the air and flip the air around, push the flame into the oil, and then push it so it, goes over the water a bit, and just push that into the general direction. Not aiming at Salai, but I'm going to fire bend.
So basically airbend the oil that's carrying the fire. Yeah, okay. I see what you're doing.
I think that needs to be a rely on his skills and training.
Yeah. You know what?
Let's see a spectacular failure of like a 2, because the spirit... Yeah.
I believe
curious.
in Tori-Michi.
I'm curious.
I think Tori-Michi, you can do this. Go ahead and give me a. Oh, do I make it a focus or a push or lock? Let's make it a focus. Go ahead and roll with focus.
Did you move my excellence?
I did, yes, because that was part of calling someone out.
Oh, okay then. Fair enough. What skill is it again now? Sorry.
It is going to be with focus, so you actually have a +2 on this one.
All right.
Yeah, they do it. They actually do it quite well. I mean, it's not like a beautiful fire whip that you would use at traditional firebending, but it's at least recognizable as moving fire from one place to another in a graceful fashion.
In fact, if I had more time, there's a display of my people that use the different elements with airbending to put on a dance. Would you like to see it?
And watching as that sort of fire dissipates out over the water, she sighs, and there's a slight chuckle as she kind of deflates. No, maybe one day, but for right now. And she kind of makes a strange gesture with her entire body, as if she's attempting to emulate one of those full body motions of the kind of quasi Tai Chi that you were doing earlier. I think I'd like you to show me how to be a little bit more gentle with my motions.
And I throw you the stick while you're like halfway through the motion. You win, by the way. The entire objective was to get the ribbon. However, you never let cross the river.
Then didn't I fail?
Yes, but you did learn something, so I'm going to give it to you.
The sort of smug provincialist arrogance is more in keeping with the Fire Nation, so I think you may have been culturally corrupted by us, she says as she sort of like plants the the stick down onto the ground.
I just like to think it of you've taken a first step.
It really didn't respond to my observation, but very well.
I dodged
and she just
it.
holds the stick out and drops it.
I will then come over and then I will go through the motions of some basic airbending stances.
And awkwardly, she's going to attempt to emulate them.
All right. While you're doing that, let's go back to Lyn Zhou. At this point, the spirit has said, and that's why some things are and some things are not.
Sure. I think I get what you're saying.
Oh, look, there's a third tiger deer now.
We just think Lyn's having a relaxing tea and drawing a picture, and we're too muddled into our own thing to realize you're.
I feel like it's kind of at this point that Lyn does look down again and go, oh. Right, yes. I was in peril. I don't suppose you could do anything about this?
I could make a really loud noise that would scare them away.
I mean, I could do that, but I feel like that, I mean... There's,
yes, but I could do it so that they would actually run. That you might actually attract more.
I mean, fair.
But I have a price.
Oh, okay.
I want you to sketch me. And it produces paper and charcoal for you.
Oh. Draw me like one of your French birds.
That's the name of the episode.
Yes.
Bing. Oh no, you don't want that, because she's sort of just running her hand back through her hair. I mean, look at you. You're magnificent and all glowy and just marvelous to look at, and I'm not gonna do you justice, like at all. Like, no, and she kind of is like toy. You can see like her thinking about whether she wants to say this or not. But could I owe you a picture of you?
Nope, it has to be done right now.
I was going to say when I get better, but okay. And she looks down again to see if the tiger deer have multiplied. Yeah. And she sort of, yeah, that tracks. Okay. Blast it. Okay. Yeah, if you can. I mean, I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt the little one that they've got. I just want them to go away.
What happened?
Okay, then, and she sort of balancing her spear across her lap. She just sort of holds her hands out for the parchment and the charcoal.
Okay. Now again, since I asked the others earlier, you get the same option. Would you like to narratively declare what you draw, or would you like to roll for it?
I think I'm going to narratively declare, because there's too much of a risk that she does a good picture, and I don't think she's there yet.
Okay.
But I think what she will do is she will take this so much more seriously than she has her landscapes previously. So she's sort of going to settle herself a bit more securely onto the branch, just sort of sitting, dangling her legs down, still hopefully out of reach of the tiger deer. Her spear still laid across her lap, so she's fully balanced. Everything is fine. She's not going to drop anything, and she just takes the the parchment and the charcoal, and she sort of looks at the firehawk and could you fly up there? Because I think, like, the light and everything, I'd get a better view of you if you were up there.
And it flies over to the little branch you've indicated.
And she sort of moves sort of backwards and forwards, like, yeah, okay. And then she sort of scoots herself along the branch a little bit more towards the trunk. Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay. And she sort of licks her thumb, rubs it against the charcoal, and just sort of starts, like, looking up occasionally, just starts sort of sketching out the rough shape of this firehawk. And it takes maybe, let's say, 10 or 15 minutes of properly trying to sketch this out. Getting the arc of the branch that it's standing on, the curl of the tail bits underneath, all of these bits that she's trying her hardest to focus on. It looks terrible. Not terrible like her landscapes do, but it is not great. But it is strangely something she's taking a lot of pride in, and I think that is showing. She's putting effort in and trying her hardest. And I think she will get to the end of it, and she will look at it and go, I told you this wouldn't be good. I mean, it's not, but I mean, and she sort of holds it out towards the spirit.
Spirit flies over and it gets closer to you, and it kind of does that bird thing where it cocks its head to the side like 3 different ways as it looks at it and goes, "This is very pretty. I will take that from you now." And with a sweep of its wings, it again disappears into spirit space. Maybe one day when you've improved, you could come back and you could draw it again.
I mean, I would love to. I mean, if we could do that without the tiger deer, that would be ideal. But
What tiger deer?
And she looks down. Yeah, she looks down and goes, "Oh, okay. How long have they been gone?"
10 minutes.
Oh. Okay. Well, the point stands. If we could do this again without the tiger deer being present and forcing me up a tree, then maybe I'll have like a proper surface to like. Yes, I'd be glad to come back and do it for you again.
Wonderful. Would you like me to take you to your friends?
Oh, yes, that'd be great. Thank you. Are they still? Now. And she sort of cocks her head a little bit at herself and just says, "Are they still making a racket?"
No, they've moved on to gentler forms, thankfully enough.
Oh, okay. And yeah, I guess she sort of drops down out of the tree and starts following the hawk. I never got your name.
I don't have a name.
Oh. And she continues walking, just sort of using her spear as almost like a walking stick as she's trudging through the forest land.
All right. Let's go back to Salai and Tori-Michi, and Lyn, you can enter in at a dramatically appropriate time. But yeah, at this point, Salai, you are, again, not an airbending master by any means, but with a little bit more work, you're at least not causing those disturbing blasts anymore. So that's a good thing.
So, especially with me pushed to excellence, I do teach you a move, but then I get very distracted as then I start focusing on my training as well. So every single time you like come to me to like show me something, I then quickly move to a more advanced one, not instinctively, not even realizing I'm doing it, because this just seems to be something's tricked over into Tori-Michi's head, where the jovialness is gone, and she's just gone into this like almost regimented training mindset. So when you break her out of it, she will give you advice, positioning on stance and other such things. But one of the things she has set up is like 6 sticks with a leaf in the center, and she's trying to knock the leaf off the center without knocking any of the sticks about. So like quite precisely using air bending to do what she wants. Actually, I'll have it sort of like try to get the leaf to hover in the air, in between these sticks. But as soon as you're like, not asking her for any advice, she immediately goes back to this and sort of like laser focus.
And I think that Salai is going to go to you several times, and the interval between each request for assistance is going to grow slightly larger until she sort of stops what she's doing in her own practice, and then kneels down on the ground a little ways away from you and starts watching.
And I have not even I've twigged that you've like stopped practicing. I just seem to be solely dedicated onto this like sort of this like I'm moving as little as possible, but it's just enough airflow for this leaf to stay like helicoptering in like between these sticks, and the sticks themselves aren't moving. But whenever they do move, I seem to like grimace, go over, move the sticks back to where they were, and then go back to my stance. And like how the little like avatar trick with like the spinning beads is sort of like that, but from a distance.
And then after one of those attempts, as you sort of resettle yourself and begin to attempt again, Salai will interject, your breathing is a little bit irregular.
Big deep breath. Big breath in, breath out. I get this like this when I focus too much.
That seems counterintuitive and counterproductive.
Strangely, it relaxes me.
Hyperventilating? That's certainly what it sounds like.
Straining my breath so that my lungs are able to go longer without breathing.
That is entirely counterintuitive with respect to firebending. The even, steady drumbeat of the breathing, like the beat of the sun.
When there is no air inside you, you can only feel the air outside of you. At that point, you are, I breathe in, I breathe out. And then what I do is I try to do the suction technique, which I've only got learned. So basically pulling the leaf out of the little like trap I've made of it, and pulling it to my hand. But you notice that even though I'm able to get the leaf to my hand, the sticks are like moved to left and right, and like the training dummy I've used is basically disrupted. And I sort of like like a ticking noise with my mouth, and I go back to setting the sticks and putting the leaf back. This is one I did not master when I left my tribe.
Well, I wish that I could help you as you've helped me. But if, as you say, you have to evacuate yourself of breath, of life.
Literally, right. In Bean's case.
Yes. So I suppose that's probably a good time for Lyn probably to return.
Yeah. So Lyn, this is probably when you walk in.
Yeah. So just sort of moving some underbrush aside and just sort of walking into this area where they're training.
Sorry about that.
Lyn's just going to just appear and is with the Firehawk with her, or
it just sort of, it does one of those things where it flies out across the river and it doesn't stop to say hello to the avatar or anything, but it just kind of flies upriver and then it banks into the trees and disappears.
And I don't even twig you're there as I go back to my training. Oh, sorry. Let me. I will. Do a nod. Maybe one day you'll be able to assist me, but for now, I am glad that I was able to aid you.
And Lyn's just going to sort of make her way over, avoiding, where Tori-Michi is doing whatever training she's doing. Just sort of make her way over to Salai and just sort of stand, slightly apart, but just plant her spear again in the ground.
Did you have a productive excursion into the woods?
I made a friend. So, I think I did.
Is that a kind of euphemism for something that you drew and you are personifying it or anthropomorphizing it?
Yes. Maybe. Okay, so it's complicated. It was a spirit, I think. It was, in fact. And yeah, they had me draw them, and then they led me back to you guys. So I think I made a friend.
I'm happy to hear it.
Also, these woods are full of tiger deer, so be careful.
But they frighten so easily. Why would we have to be afraid of them?
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who would have trouble with tiger deer, right?
A tiger deer upriver hops out of the forest and just causes a big old splash. And then it looks at all three of you like
literally
deer in
startles itself. Yeah.
Perhaps we should leave before we disrupt them any further.
Not even paying attention, focused on training.
Did you guys find your adventure? Because I guess I found mine.
I think that largely depends on your definition of adventure.
Mild peril.
Would mild frustration count?
Well, it might have. Were you going to set fire to
Then there was a
Tori-Michi?
tremendous adventure, yes.
Right.
In both respects.
Okay. And she's just sort of looking sort of wistfully around the forest again at all of the leaves and the colors that are all around. I really like this place.
Quite frankly, it's associated with some negative memories for me, so I'd like to depart as quickly as we possibly can.
I like not even, fully focusing. Are we leaving? So we'll continue back with my training.
I think we're leaving.
Oh, okay then. I gather my things, like my stuff. I start rustling all of the stuff I've just, left around the forest, the ribbons and stuff, and just carry them into a backpack.
And I guess as they're
go ahead.
as they're walking out of the forest, Salai is just going to say to Tori-Michi, you are perhaps the most stiff-necked airbender, not that I've met many airbenders, that I've ever encountered.
Oh, you should try to go onto the monasteries. Trust me, they're all about their way of life and philosophy. I'm just more used to people like you, and I'll give you a nudge.
And she mutters under her breath, hopefully outside of the range of Tori-Michi's hearing as she walks off. I've never met anyone like me.
Oh no, we've hit I'm not like other girls.
Had to happen eventually. But the final thing we'll see is that as you leave the forest, you do see a Kemi did come to the forest as per the earlier whistle, and they may or may not have caught a tiger deer for you all to have for dinner tonight.
I told you they weren't that dangerous.
They either attack or they run away. So it's like a coin flip.
I mean, I didn't say I was. It's. All I said was they were here. I mean, it's not like I got caught up a tree or anything. It's not like I had to, shut up. And she sort of goes off to the.
I think you stepped on a twig there.
All right, and with that, I think that is an excellent moment to call session 3 to an end. So yeah, I actually really liked that one. We had a lot of teaching moments. We had those avatar moments, which I really love. And they came naturally. It's always one of those things where people wonder, how do you get the avatar moments? And honestly, as long as you invest in the role play and each other, they tend to come naturally. So well done indeed. Before we sign off, though, we have growth to handle. So interestingly, I think you didn't really learn anything super challenging, exciting, or complicated about the world, so nothing there. Did you guide a companion towards balance or end the session at your center? I think everybody is off center. Let me just double check.
Pushed me towards excellent. How dare you?
Yeah. So I think no there. Did you stop a dangerous vet or solve a community problem? No, nothing there. Lyn Zhou, you didn't learn anything about your lineage, so nothing there.
Nope.
What about us as a community dealing with the emotional trauma of last week?
No.
Okay.
Let's try.
Let me see. Salai, did you accomplish a feat worthy of your burden and tradition?
No.
I'm thinking no, yeah. I mean, you did kind of make progress with airbending, but not like worthy of the avatar, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
And then Tori-Michi, your growth question is, did you express gratitude to a companion for their presence, support, or teaching? Actually, yes, I would say you did.
Yeah.
So you're good growth there.
We get one growth point between all of us. Let's go. I can share it out.
I was going to say, I don't think you can.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, before I sign off, I do want to give people a peek at the schedule. We will be off the 17th and the 24th. We might be playing the 31st. We will be playing it by ear. But the hope is that starting January 7th, we will be back to weekly, knock on wood, scheduling gods. Please don't kill us. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. YouTube, this is where we're going to say goodbye, but Twitch, stick around. But YouTube, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.